Now, I don't know about you, but I've always had a soft spot for pennies. Not just any pennies, though, no, we're talking about the ones that aren't just worth a cent. Today, we're diving into the world of a super rare coin that could actually be worth $1 million. Sounds crazy, right? But trust me, it's true. We're talking about the 1993 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, this little piece of copper could have a value that'll make you look at your spare change a little differently. Stick around, because I've got some jaw-dropping info about this coin, and you'll definitely want to keep an eye out for it. Let's start by taking a trip back to 1993. Bill Clinton was in the White House, and if you were like me, you were probably rocking a radical t-shirt and watching some good old cartoons. But while all that was going on, something odd was happening in the world of coin production. The US Mint, those people responsible for making all the money, suddenly messed up and forgot to stamp a mint mark on some of their pennies. It sounds like something out of a heist movie, right? But it was a real mistake, and those pennies without a mint mark are the ones that collectors love. You might be thinking, what's the big deal with a mint mark? It's just a tiny letter, right? Well, that tiny letter is a huge deal. The mint mark tells you where the coin was made: Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But in 1993, they accidentally skipped it on some pennies made in Philadelphia. These no-mint mark pennies are extremely rare, and because of that rarity, they're highly sought after by collectors. Now, let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was going through some of my old coins, trying to sort through the ones that might be worth something. I found a penny that looked pretty standard, and I nearly tossed it into the not worth much pile. But then I remembered something I'd heard in a coin collector's forum about the 1993 no-mint mark penny. I thought, wait a second, this penny doesn't have a mint mark. I pulled it out, did a quick check online, and boom! I'd found myself a little treasure. Turns out it wasn't just your average penny. It was a coin worth thousands. That got me thinking. What if I had tossed it? How many people just don't realize that they're sitting on something worth more than their lunch? These 1993 no-mint mark pennies have been known to fetch prices in the range of hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's right, this tiny penny could be worth a fortune. In some cases, the rare ones have been sold at auctions for well over $1 million. Can you imagine finding one of those in your change? That could be a game-changer. So, how do you know if you've got one of these gems in your collection? It's actually pretty simple. First, you want to look closely at the date. If it's 1993 and there's no mint mark under the date, congratulations. You've got something special. The key here is that you need to make sure it doesn't have any of the typical mint marks you'd expect to see: D for Denver, or S for San Francisco. If it's got nothing, you're looking at a rare find, but not every 1993 penny without a mint mark is automatically worth $1 million. The condition of the coin is super important, too. If it's in great shape, uncirculated, and shiny, you've got a much better shot at seeing that huge price tag. But if it's a bit worn out, it's still worth a pretty penny, just not $1 million. Let's talk about the value, because that's the fun part. The current market value for these 1993 no-mint mark pennies can vary, but there are some reports of these coins being sold for over $1 million at auctions. The price is based on rarity, demand, and condition. Some collectors are willing to pay a premium for a penny that's in mint condition, so if you've got one that looks like it was just minted yesterday, you could be sitting on a gold mine. You might not find one every day, so when you do, hold on to it. It might just be worth the kind of money you'd want to retire on. So, to sum it up, the 1993 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is one of those rare coins that can make you a lot of money if you find the right one. Who knew that something so small could be worth so much, right? And, hey, even if you don't find $1 million penny, there are tons of other rare coins out there that can make you some serious cash. If you've learned anything from this video, it's that checking your change could change your life. Before you head out and start searching through your old penny jar, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on more tips and tricks about coins worth big money. I've got plenty more stories and strategies coming your way, and you'll definitely want to stay in the loop for those future finds. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Keep hunting those rare coins, and I'll see you in the next video. You ever find yourself flipping through a pile of loose change, and suddenly, you see something that makes your heart skip a beat? Like, when you stumble upon a coin that's older than your uncle's stories about the good old days, and you think, is this thing worth anything? Well, I've been there. I remember once I found a penny in the couch cushions and thought, is this the next big thing? A hidden treasure, maybe? I showed it to my buddy, and he said, yeah, that's just a penny. But what if it wasn't just a penny? Today, I want to talk about a coin that's worth way more than your average pocket change. We're talking about the 1976 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. This little guy might look ordinary, but it's actually got a value that could make your jaw drop. And I'm not talking about just a couple of bucks here. No. We're talking millions, but before you run off to dig through your spare change jar, let's break down why this penny is sitting at the top of the coin world right now, and how it could totally change the game for you. First off, let's talk about why this 1976 penny is so special. It was struck during a pretty cool time in American history, 1976, the year we celebrated the 200th anniversary of the United States. The nation was throwing one heck of a birthday party, and even the coins got in on the action with some unique commemorative designs. However, here's where things get interesting. Most of these pennies came out of the US Mint with a mint mark. You know, that little D or S you often see near the date on your pennies? That tells you where the coin was made, either in Denver or San Francisco. But some of these 1976 pennies, the ones without a mint mark, were mistakenly produced without one. And that tiny mistake turned into a massive opportunity for collectors. Now, why does that one little detail make all the difference? Because of scarcity. See, fewer of these, no mint mark, pennies were made, and over time, that rarity has pushed the value of these coins up, way up. A typical 1976 penny might only be worth 1 cent, but a 1976 no mint mark penny? That could be worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars, depending on its condition. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. How much could a penny possibly be worth, really? And trust me, I get it. I used to think the same thing. But here's the kicker, a 1976 no mint mark penny, in pristine condition, also known as being in uncirculated or mint state condition, has been known to fetch as much as $1 million or more at auction. Yes, you heard that right. $1 million. For a penny, and it's not just a one-off, either. There are collectors who actively seek out these rare, unmarked pennies and pay top dollar for them. If you manage to find one in your change jar, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Sounds pretty wild, right? But it's true. Just like anything else in the coin world, condition is key. A penny that's been through the ringer, tossed around in your pocket for decades, isn't going to make you a millionaire. You're looking for one that's in top-notch shape, shiny, clean, and with no signs of wear or damage. If you've got one of these beauties in mint condition, you could be holding onto a serious goldmine. Now, if you're out there digging through your old change or scouring eBay for these rare pennies, there are a few things you'll want to keep in mind. Not all 1976 pennies are valuable. It's the ones with no mint mark, in near-perfect condition, that will fetch the big bucks. Check out online coin valuation guides or get in touch with a professional coin appraiser to verify the coin's worth. With rare coins like this, you'll want to get them authenticated. There's always a risk of someone trying to pass off a fake penny as the real deal. So, make sure you're working with a trusted expert. Let me tell you about the time I thought I had struck gold with a penny. I was out at a yard sale, just one of those lazy Saturday afternoons where you're digging through boxes of old junk. I found a jar of coins, and in the mix, I spotted a 1976 penny. Of course, I was too excited. I was thinking, this is it. I'm about to be a millionaire. So, I rushed home, Googled 1976 no mint mark penny, and got all hyped up. thinking I was going to find my retirement plan. I'll tell you, I was on cloud 9, until I looked closer. Turns out, it wasn't the no mint mark version. The thing had been handled more than a doorknob in a busy office. It had scratches, nicks, and that dull look you get when a coin has been in circulation too long. I didn't get rich that day. But hey, it taught me a valuable lesson. Research, patience, and a sharp eye can make all the difference. So, don't get too ahead of yourself, make sure you've got the right coin, and you'll be golden. The 1976 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is a classic example of how a small mistake can lead to big rewards. These rare pennies can be worth a fortune, and all it takes is a little bit of luck, and a lot of knowledge, to find one. But remember, not every 1976 penny is $1 million coin. It's the ones without the mint mark and in mint condition that you need to look out for. And if you happen to have one lying around in your change jar or tucked away in a drawer, who knows, you might just have a goldmine on your hands. If you want more tips on how to spot valuable coins and strategies for building your own collection, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be diving into more coins worth big bucks, and trust me, you won't want to miss out on what could be your ticket to coin collecting success. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting. Keep your eyes peeled for those rare finds. You never know when the next big payday might be sitting in your pocket. Alright, fellas, gather around, because I've got a story about a coin that could change your life. You know those pennies you've got laying around in a drawer, or stuffed in the back of your couch? Well, one of those could be worth millions. I'm talking about the 1963 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yeah, that's right. A penny. But not just any penny, this one's got the potential to make you a serious chunk of change. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be rifling through every pocket, jar, and old coin book you can find. Now, before you get too excited and start searching your couch cushions, hey, that's not a bad idea though, let's break this down. The 1963 no-mint mark penny isn't just some forgotten coin from the past. It's one of those hidden gems that most people overlook, but trust me, if you find one, it's like hitting the jackpot. To understand why this penny is worth so much, we need to dig a little into the history. The 1963 penny, like most pennies from the era, was minted in Philadelphia. But here's the kicker, it doesn't have a mint mark on it, which is pretty uncommon for that time. Mint marks were usually stamped on coins to tell us where they were made, whether it was Philly, Denver, or San Francisco. But in 1963, Philly was cranking out so many pennies, they didn't bother with mint marks on most of them. This tiny detail makes the coin a bit more elusive and, for collectors, that means it's more desirable. There aren't a whole lot of them out there, which is why this penny has climbed to a jaw-dropping value. We're talking millions of dollars. Yup, you heard that right. This little copper nugget could be worth anywhere from $1 million to $2 million, depending on its condition, of course. Yeah right, how does a penny get to be worth millions? Well, it all comes down to rarity, demand, and condition. This penny's value comes from the fact that not many were made without that mint mark, and fewer still have survived in decent condition. You might have a 1963 penny, but that doesn't automatically mean it's going to be worth a fortune. Condition matters, a lot. Coins that have been buried in the ground for decades or used as dirty, grimy pocket change won't fetch much. But if you've got a penny that's in mint condition, as in, it's got that fresh look with little to no wear on it, you could be sitting on a gold mine. Collectors want coins that look as close to perfect as possible, so even the smallest scratch or discoloration can bring down the value. How to tell if your 1963 penny is worth a fortune? So, how do you know if you've got one of these rare beauties sitting in your change jar? It's all about authentication and grading. First off, you'll need to make sure the coin is legitimate. There are plenty of fakes out there. Some people will go as far as trying to trick you with a polished-up, mint-looking penny that's not worth anything. Don't fall for it. Find a good coin expert or appraiser who can verify its authenticity. Once you've got that sorted, the next step is to grade the coin. Coin grading is a whole thing in the world of numismatics, and believe me, it's not as simple as looking at a coin and saying, yeah, that looks nice. There are professional grading systems that evaluate the coin based on its appearance, including the sharpness of the image, the color, and how much where it shows. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Where can I sell a penny for millions? Well, you're in luck. Coin auctions are where the magic happens. There are major auction houses that deal exclusively with rare coins, and buyers at these auctions are ready to throw down some serious cash. The market for rare coins is still pretty hot, and coins like the 1963 no-mint mark penny have been known to fetch a pretty penny, pun intended. A little while ago, a similar penny, one that was graded in near-perfect condition, sold for over $1.5 million. That's some serious money for a coin that many people wouldn't even pick up off the ground if they saw it. So, what does that mean for you? If you've got a 1963 penny that's in good shape, don't just toss it in your pocket or let it sit in a jar somewhere. Get it graded, get it authenticated, and take it to an auction house or a coin dealer who knows their stuff. Now, let me share a little personal story. A few years back, I was at a garage sale, yeah, the classic spot for hidden treasures, when I came across a box of old coins. There was a 1960s era penny sitting in there, looking a little beat up, but still pretty shiny. I bought the whole box for $10, hey, it was a deal, and honestly, I didn't think much of it. But later that night, I started doing a little research, and guess what? That penny turned out to be a 1963 no-mint mark penny, and it was in surprisingly good condition. Long story short, I ended up selling it for a small fortune at an auction. Now, I wasn't exactly rolling in cash, but let's just say it paid off some bills and bought me a really nice dinner. What I learned from that experience is, you never know what you've got until you look. So, if you're sitting on a collection of coins that's been gathering dust in your attic, it's time to go through them. There might be a penny in there that could set you up for a future you never imagined. Alright, guys, now you know all about the 1963 no-mint mark penny and why it could be the key to millions. Remember, it's all about rarity, condition, and finding the right buyer. So, start digging through your old coin collection, check that change jar, and give your grandma's coin collection a second look. Who knows? That old penny might just be worth more than you think. If you've learned something new today, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more tips and tricks on coins worth money, coin collecting strategies, and stories from the world of numismatics. Trust me, you won't want to miss what we've got in store next. Hit that like button if you're excited about coin collecting, and leave a comment below if you've ever found a coin worth big money. I'd love to hear your stories. Alright, fellas, you ever pull a penny out of your pocket, look at it, and think, this thing's probably worth about a cent? Well, buckle up, because that little penny could actually be worth millions. Yeah, millions. And no, I'm not messing with you. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most mind-blowing coins I've ever come across, the 1968 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Sounds like a joke, right? But trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be staring at your loose change in a whole new light. So, stick with me for the next 50 minutes, don't worry, I'll keep it light and entertaining, and I'll show you exactly how that tiny penny could be hiding a potential fortune. Plus, I'll share a personal story of how I once found a coin that made me do a double take, and no, it wasn't a $1 million penny, but it was pretty dang close. Let's get into it. Now, I know what you're thinking, it's just a penny, man. Why are you so hyped about a piece of copper? Well, here's the thing, that 1968 penny is not just any penny. In fact, it's the kind of penny that can make your heart skip a beat when you find out its value. If you're holding a 1968 penny with no mint mark, there's a good chance you've got something worth a pretty penny. You see, the US Mint typically stamps coins with a mint mark to show where they were made, whether it's Philly, Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But for the 1968 penny, most of the coins were minted in Philadelphia and were stamped with no mint mark. Not all 1968 pennies are created equal. The 1968 no mint mark penny was produced in massive numbers, but that doesn't mean all of them are worth millions. You see, there's a rare version of this coin that's in pristine condition, and collectors have paid big bucks for these babies. Alright, let's talk numbers. We're talking about a coin that can fetch around $1 million at auction under the right circumstances. But, don't start thinking that every 1968 penny is sitting in your change jar waiting to be a millionaire maker. The condition of the coin is key. A penny in pristine, uncirculated condition could be worth up to $1 million. That's because, due to a mistake or some kind of error, some of these pennies were struck with a slight design flaw, and collectors go wild for these mistakes. Condition is king. If you've got a 1968 penny that looks like it just came off the mint press, you're in luck. These high-grade coins are the ones that fetch top dollar. The better the condition, the higher the price tag. We're talking about a gem-quality coin that looks like it could have been minted yesterday, not 50+ years ago. Now, error coins are a whole different ballgame. These can be pennies with double strikes, off-center designs, or, as I mentioned before, the one with the minting error that can push its value into the stratosphere. If you've got a 1968 penny with an error, make sure to get it checked out by a professional, because that little mistake could mean a huge payout. Even though the 1968 penny was produced in huge numbers, the ones that survived in top-notch condition and with minting errors are incredibly rare today. That's what makes them valuable. The fewer there are, the more people want them, and the more they're willing to pay. So, what does this mean for you? Keep those pennies. Take a look at the ones sitting in your pocket change. You might not have $1 million coin in your collection just yet, but you never know when a 1968 no-mint mark penny could show up in your daily finds. Let me take you back to a few years ago. I was at a local flea market, rummaging through a box of coins that a guy was trying to unload. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was half distracted, thinking about lunch, but something caught my eye. There it was, a worn-down penny, 1968, no mint mark. I didn't think much of it at first, but the seller was practically giving it away for a few cents. So, I thought, why not, and added it to my pile that I didn't think much of it for a while. Then, one day, I remembered that I had tossed that penny into a jar of loose change. I pulled it out, looked at it again, and did a double take. Something about the way it caught the light made me pause. I had seen a video a while ago about rare 1968 pennies, so I decided to do a quick check. After doing some research, I found that I had a pristine 1968 penny with no mint mark. Now, I wasn't sitting on $1 million coin, but it was definitely worth a solid amount more than I paid. It was one of those moments where I thought, wow, maybe I should be paying more attention to my change. Always check your pennies. You might just be carrying around a small fortune. Alright, fellas, here's the bottom line. That 1968 no mint mark penny might look like just another coin sitting in your pocket, but if you look closely, it could be worth a small fortune. If you happen to find one in perfect condition or with a minting error, you could be holding onto something that's worth millions. So, before you toss that penny into the wishing well, or the piggy bank, give it a second look. There's no reason you can't get lucky. I've found coins at garage sales, flea markets, and even in random old drawers. So, get out there, start looking through your coins, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find a hidden gem that could make you a lot richer than you expected. If you want more tips like this, whether it's about rare pennies, quarters, or other coins worth big bucks, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next coin worth a fortune that I uncover. Hold on to your hats because I'm about to blow your mind. Imagine stumbling upon a coin worth millions. Yes, millions. That's not a typo. You might be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it, and today, we're talking about one particular coin that could have your wallet bulging with cash, the 2005 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Sounds like a crazy fantasy, right? Well, buckle up, because I'm about to take you on a wild ride into the world of valuable pennies. This isn't just some lucky find story. It's real, and it's happened before. So, let's dive into the crazy world of this penny that's way more valuable than you probably think. If you're serious about finding hidden treasures in your pocket change, stick around. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be checking your spare change like a detective on a hot case. Let's get into it. Well, let me take you back in time. Picture this, it's 2005, and the US Mint is doing its usual thing, pumping out millions of pennies. In fact, that year was all about honoring the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, with a special series of pennies that would feature his likeness from his younger years on one side. Pretty cool, right? Most of the 2005 pennies have the D Mint mark if they were produced in Denver or the P Mint mark if they were made in Philadelphia. But, and here's where it gets interesting, a few oddball pennies slipped through the cracks that have absolutely no mint mark at all. No P, no D, nothing. These little guys are so rare that they can be worth big money, and I mean millions of dollars in some cases. Now, you might be thinking, wait a second, a penny? Worth millions? Come on, buddy, are you pulling my leg? But let me assure you, this is not a joke. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. In 2005, when the no mint mark pennies started popping up, collectors went nuts over them. They were like the holy grail of coins, the stuff of legends, but before you start running to the nearest coin shop and tossing around all your pennies like a treasure hunter looking for lost gold, let's talk about how to spot the rare ones and what they're really worth today. First, we need to talk about the key factor that makes the 2005 no mint mark penny so valuable: rarity. There are only a few hundred of them in circulation. That's it. Just a handful. And when you've got something that rare, people will pay big bucks for it. Well, depending on the condition and the exact type of penny you have, you could be looking at anywhere from $1,000 to over $1 million for one of these bad boys. Crazy, right? I know. It blows my mind too. And there are even rumors that some of these rare coins have sold for as much as $2.5 million at auctions. Yep, you read that right. Not bad for a coin that originally cost, what, 1 cent? Let's talk about my personal experience with coin collecting. So, I've been collecting coins for years. I've had my fair share of finds, but none of them were close to $1 million coin. I remember this one time I was going through a pile of pennies, just some random change I had lying around. I didn't expect to find anything special. Honestly, I was just hoping to find a couple of old wheat pennies, you know, the ones from the 1940s or 50s. But then I came across one that didn't have a mint mark. At first, I thought, it's probably nothing. But then I remembered the 2005 no mint mark penny, and I started to wonder, could this be one of them? I took a closer look. No mint mark, check. It wasn't in perfect condition, but it wasn't bad either. I started researching, and guess what? It wasn't worth $1 million, but it was definitely worth a solid few $100. Still, not bad for a coin that had been hanging out in my pocket for who knows how long. That moment made me realize the hidden treasures that could be hiding in our spare change. And now, I want to pass that knowledge on to you. Here's the deal, it's all about being on the lookout. Keep an eye on your pennies, especially the ones from 2005. The best part is, you don't need to be a professional numismatist to spot one. Just check the year and look for the mint mark or lack of it. If you've got a 2005 penny with no mint mark, don't just toss it into the jar with the rest of your spare change. You might be holding onto a gold mine. Don't just stop with the 2005 penny. There are tons of valuable coins out there, and they're not all as obvious as you might think. If you start paying attention, you could end up discovering a hidden treasure trove in your pockets, your coin jar, or even at your local thrift store. If you're serious about finding coins worth money, you've got to stay informed and always be on the lookout. Don't be like me, all casual with your change. Be like that guy who actually finds the $1 million penny. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on more coin collecting tips, tricks, and treasure hunts. Trust me, there's a lot more valuable coins to uncover, and I'm going to show you how to find them. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And remember, if you've got any 2005 pennies with no mint mark lying around, well, good luck, and maybe start making room for your newfound fortune. Have you ever been sifting through your pocket change, just casually flipping through a handful of pennies, and wondered, could this little guy be worth a fortune? Well, I've got news for you. There's one particular penny from 2020 that could be sitting in your collection right now, just waiting to make you a ton of cash. Yep, you guessed it. I'm talking about the 2020 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, a penny? Worth $1 million. It sounds crazy, right? But trust me, this isn't some wild conspiracy theory or collector's fever dream. This coin really could be worth millions. Stick around because I'm about to break down exactly why this little copper circle has such a crazy value, what to look for, and how you might just stumble across one yourself. Alright, let's start with the basics. The 2020 D. Abraham Lincoln penny is part of the series of pennies that celebrate good old Honest Abe. But unlike the standard pennies you see every day, this particular one stands out in a big way. Why? Because of the minting errors that can make it rare and valuable. And we all know that when it comes to coin collecting, error coins are like finding a golden ticket to the Willy Wonka factory, except instead of chocolate, it's stacks of cash. First, let's talk about the 2020 D Mint mark. You've got your standard pennies with the D Mint mark that come from Denver, Colorado. These aren't super rare on their own, but the ones with errors? That's where the magic happens. One of the most notable errors that collectors are looking for is the double die error. If you've never heard of that before, basically, it's a mistake made during the minting process where the design on the die gets stamped twice, causing the image to be slightly misaligned. That means Abraham Lincoln's face and the details on the coin will appear doubled. The result is a penny that's not only unique but also highly desirable. For starters, the value of a 2020 D penny with a double die error can hit upwards of $1 million, and that's not just an estimate, it's the real deal. People are literally paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single coin. And if you happen to find one in your change jar, you could be looking at an instant jackpot. Finding one isn't easy. The 2020 D pennies with the double die error are incredibly rare, which is why they command such high prices. Only a few have been discovered, and they're snapped up quickly by eager collectors. So, if you're holding onto a 2020 D penny that looks a little off, especially with double details, you might want to give it a closer inspection. Don't just assume it's another run-of-the-mill penny. Now, before you go running off to dig through your old piggy bank, let me share a little personal story. A few years ago, I was in the exact same position. I was rummaging through a box of old coins I'd collected over the years. There were a few pennies in there from 2020, nothing special, I thought. But then, bam! One of them caught my eye. I wasn't sure what was off, but something about it seemed different. After a closer look, I realized it was a double die error penny. Talk about a holy grail moment that I rushed to an expert, and let me tell you, he was just as shocked as I was when he saw it. He actually thought I had misidentified it at first, but the error was obvious. I was holding a potential treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I didn't sell it right away, honestly, I couldn't part with it. But that feeling of finding something truly valuable in my own collection is something I'll never forget. And that's the kind of excitement you could experience if you're lucky enough to find one of these 2020 D Lincoln pennies. What else makes this coin so special is its historical significance. The 2020 penny was released in the middle of a pandemic, which is a huge part of modern history. So, not only is it a rare minting error, but it also has historical context attached to it. That's a huge selling point for collectors who love to focus on coins that tell a story. This penny could be seen as a symbol of resilience, surviving through the madness of 2020 and being part of a year that we'll all look back on and remember forever. And remember, coins like these aren't just rare because of minting errors. Sometimes, their value is determined by the condition they're in. So, even if you don't find a double die error, if your 2020 D penny is in mint condition, that could still boost its value considerably. The fewer scratches, dents, or discoloration, the higher the potential price. So, always check the quality of the coin. your penny might be one of the lucky few that escaped the year without too much damage. Now, let's talk about how you can spot these valuable pennies. First things first, look at the date and mint mark. If you've got a 2020 D penny, you're halfway there. Then, inspect the details carefully. Look for any signs of doubling, particularly around the date, Lincoln's profile, and the words, Liberty and, In God We Trust. If you see any of these features showing up twice, it could be the real deal. Also, don't forget about the grade of the coin. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. So, if you're looking to sell it, you might want to get it graded by a professional service like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS. A graded coin can fetch a lot more than an ungraded one, so it's worth getting it assessed. So, there you have it. The 2020 D. Abraham Lincoln penny, your potential golden ticket to a pile of cash. It's rare, it's valuable, and it could be sitting in your change jar, right under your nose. Just remember, not every 2020 D penny is going to make you a millionaire. But if you happen to find one with that sweet double die error, or even in pristine condition, you could be holding on to something that's worth a lot more than a few cents. I hope you learned something new today, and now, next time you go through your pennies, you'll know exactly what to look for. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of valuable coins, be sure to smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any of my future tips and tricks on coins worth big money. I've got a lot more exciting content coming your way, so don't go anywhere. Where your spare change might just turn into a serious payday, today we are diving into a tiny coin with a gigantic story. That is right, we are talking about the 1978 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, a little coppery circle that could be sitting unnoticed in your pocket right now, worth not pennies, not dollars, but millions of dollars. Yeah, you heard me right, millions. Imagine finding one of these bad boys under your car seat and realizing you just struck gold without even buying a lottery ticket. So, if you have ever rolled your eyes when Grandma told you to check your pennies, get ready to call her and apologize because Grandma knew something we didn't. Alright, let's get down to it. First of all, let's talk about what makes the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny so special. Normally a penny without a mint mark was made in Philadelphia, and you would think, okay, cool, big deal. Right? Wrong. This particular year had some very unique minting errors and very limited numbers that slipped through unnoticed. Now here is where it gets spicy. These rare versions have what collectors call deep strike features, meaning the details on Lincoln's face and the word Liberty pop out like a 3D movie without the funny glasses. On top of that, a few were minted with slightly different copper compositions during the transition to more zinc-based pennies in the early 80s. So these pennies are like the hybrid cars of the coin world, a little bit of the old mixed with a little bit of the new, and because of these quirks, collectors go absolutely bananas for them. I am talking about folks paying upwards of $1 million in auctions. No joke. Some private sales have even whispered about numbers creeping close to $15 million for ultra-perfect specimens with strong strikes and no circulation damage. Now let me tell you a quick story about the time I almost had one of these suckers back in my college days when I was surviving on ramen noodles and bad decisions. I had a part-time job working at a gas station. One slow afternoon, a guy came in with a jar full of change. He was short a few bucks for gas, so he dumped the whole jar on the counter for me to count through manually because the coin machine was broken. Now I don't know about you, but after counting the millionth penny I started daydreaming about quitting and running off to a beach somewhere. But somewhere in that pile I noticed a super shiny 1978 penny. It just looked different, it felt heavier, sharper, but of course, being a broke college kid with a 10-minute attention span, I just shrugged, pocketed it, and spent it later on a vending machine snack. Fast forward to now, when I realized that could have been $1 million penny. Yep, I could have been sipping margaritas on my private island instead of sitting here crying into my keyboard. Live and learn, folks, live and learn. First thing you gotta do is check your pennies. Look for the 1978 year and make sure there is no mint mark under the date. Then check for strong, sharp details, especially around Lincoln's beard and the lettering around the edges. If the penny looks like it was just minted yesterday, you might be onto something. Condition is king here. A beat-up, scratched coin will not fetch you top dollar, but a shiny, sharp penny could be your ticket to early retirement. Coins graded MS67 and above by grading services like PCGS are the real jackpot winners. Also a quick tip, keep an eye out for something called doubling. This is where letters or numbers look like they have a shadow behind them. A 1978 penny with Doubling can send its value skyrocketing even higher. Now you might be wondering where to sell. If you find one, you have got options, baby. You can auction it through places like heritage auctions or great collections, or even hit up private collectors directly through coin shows and online groups. Just make sure you get your coin authenticated before you start making it rain. So there you have it, folks, the humble 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny might just be the hidden treasure you have been stepping over all these years. Do not be like me, crying over a lost $1 million snack run. Check your coin jars, your couch cushions, even the floor of your car. You never know what you might find. And hey, if you want to keep learning how to turn your pocket change into serious bank, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We have got tons more coin hunting tips, strategies and stories coming your way, because at the end of the day, finding rare coins is not just a hobby, it's a lifestyle, and who knows, you could be one coin away from living your best life. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Good luck out there, and as always, keep your heads up and your eyes on those pennies, where we turn pocket change into pure treasure. Now let me ask you something real quick. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? I mean really looked at them, not just scooped them up off the counter or out of the cup holder in your truck. Because let me tell you right now, you might just be sitting on a tiny copper coin that is worth not a couple bucks, not a couple $100, but millions. That is right. Today we are diving headfirst into the incredible story of the 1975 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has been quietly causing major buzz in the coin collecting world and setting auction houses on fire with eye-watering bids. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and get ready, because by the end of this video you are going to be tearing apart your couch cushions like a pirate hunting for buried treasure. The 1975 Lincoln penny is just your regular old penny. At first glance it's got Honest Abe sitting there looking serious like he just read your electric bill. It says Liberty on the left, the year 1975 on the right, and In God We Trust above his head. Nothing crazy, right? In 1975, pennies were supposed to be minted mainly at two locations, Philadelphia and Denver. Philadelphia traditionally did not put a mint mark on their coins, so most pennies from there would have no mark at all, and that was normal. However, rare errors and special versions slipped through the cracks, and today collectors are drooling over specific 1975 no mint mark pennies that are in flawless condition or have rare minting mistakes. Some 1975 no mint mark Lincoln pennies have been discovered in such pristine condition or with rare flaws like double dies, off-center strikes, or other wild mistakes that their value has gone through the roof. I'm talking about auction prices reaching a cool $1 million and up. Yeah, imagine flipping a penny into a wishing fountain and finding out later you just tossed away a mansion worth of money. There are millions of regular 1975 pennies floating around, but coins with specific errors or perfect mint state condition are extremely rare, especially after decades of wear and tear. Collectors love coins that look like they were just made yesterday, so coins graded MS67, MS68 or better by companies like PCGS or NGC are highly sought after. The 1970s were a major turning point for the US economy. Inflation was wild, gas prices were crazier than a raccoon in a garbage can, and the penny was still being made mostly of copper rather than the cheaper zinc used later on. All these factors make a top-grade 1975 no mint mark penny a dream find for collectors. Back when I first got into coin collecting, I was not exactly what you would call an expert. I mean, I thought a double die was just when you dropped two coins at once. One day I was digging through an old coffee tin of pennies at my grandma's house and came across a 1975 no mint mark penny that looked so shiny I thought it had been polished with bacon grease, but something told me to hang on to it. Maybe it was Abe's judging stare, I do not know. Fast forward a few years when I actually learned how to grade coins properly. I dug that penny out again, had it graded, and buddy, let me tell you, it was almost mint state, perfect, sharp details, blazing luster like it just rolled off the press. Now mine was not one of the ultra rare $1 million types, but it still got me a nice chunk of change and a huge adrenaline rush. Moral of the story: never underestimate a penny. Never underestimate grandma either. She knew what she was doing. Keeping that tin when you are sifting through your pennies. Here are some things to look for. First, look for a strong clear strike. If the coin looks super sharp with no signs of heavy wear, it might be a good candidate. Double dies where the letters or numbers look kinda doubled off. Center strikes where the design is shifted. Die cracks that look like tiny raised lines. Even small things like misaligned dies can add serious value. Third, and super important, check the surface. If you see spots or scratches, it drops the value big time. And do not forget, if you think you found something special, get it professionally graded. Trust me, it's worth it. That $50 grading fee could be the best investment you ever make. Now you might be wondering, what if I don't have a 1975 penny? Should I still be digging through my coins? Because there are so many hidden treasures out there waiting to be found, from rare quarters to error nickels to dollar Coins with wacky mistakes, you just gotta know what to look for. I mean, who wouldn't want an excuse to spend an afternoon sifting through change like a kid in a candy store? Plus, every coin you find adds up. You can build a collection, pass it down to your kids, or even sell it piece by piece for some serious side income. And if you ask me, I'd rather spend a Saturday searching for treasure than mowing the lawn any day. The 1975 no mint mark Lincoln penny might look like an everyday coin, but with the right condition or rare error, it can be worth a literal fortune. Take a second look at those pennies lying around your house, at the bottom of your backpack, in your glove box, you name it, because you never know. And remember, it is not just about the money, it's about the thrill, the history, and the stories behind every single coin. If you enjoyed hanging out today and want more tips on finding valuable coins, plus some good laughs and personal stories along the way, make sure you smash that subscribe button like you are trying to crack open a treasure chest. Hit that bell so you never miss a new video, because you better believe we got a lot more coin hunting strategies coming your way. Thanks for watching, friends. Now get out there and start digging through your change. You might just find your $1 million penny waiting for you. Where we turn pocket change into potential paydays. Today we are diving deep into a coin that might just be hiding right under your couch cushions, and trust me, you are gonna want to grab a flashlight and a magnifying glass after this one. We are talking about the 2020 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now you might be thinking, come on man, a 2020 penny that is like brand new, how could that possibly be worth anything? Well, buckle up, because by the end of this video you will see why some of these little copper beauties are fetching $1 million on the market. That is right, $1 million for a coin you might have walked past at the gas station this morning. And to prove how real this is, I am gonna share a funny story about the time I almost spent a coin worth thousands just because I was craving a burrito at lunch. You do not want to miss this, so sit back, relax, maybe even grab a handful of pennies from the junk drawer, because today could be the day you realize you are sitting on a fortune. Alright, first things first, what makes the 2020 D Lincoln penny so special? Because let us be honest, there are billions of these pennies out there, right? How could one of them possibly be worth more than my entire truck? It all comes down to errors and condition. That is the magic combo right there. You see, when the Denver Mint pumped out these pennies in 2020, they had a few hiccups. Some of these coins were struck off center, some have die cracks where the coin literally looks like it was hit by lightning. Others have crazy doubling, where parts of the design like the date or the lettering look like they are seeing double without a drop of whiskey involved. Collectors go absolutely nuts for these kinds of mistakes. It is like finding a misprinted baseball card, but way cooler, because you can technically still spend it if you want, which you should not. Please do not. Now the 2020 D pennies that are worth the big bucks are the ones that have major noticeable errors and are in what we call mint state condition. Mint state means they look basically untouched, fresh as a daisy, straight from the mint, no scratches, no fingerprints, no gum stuck to them from being in a kid's pocket. If you find a 2020 D penny with, say, a dramatic off-center strike where part of the design is missing, or a heavy die crack running across Lincoln's face, buddy, you could be looking at a serious payday. We are talking tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, and in a few special cases even $1 million for the absolute best of the best examples. And let us not forget grading. Grading is like getting a report card for your coin. Professional services like PCGS and NGC slap your coin into a hard case and give it a score from 1 to 70. The closer you are to 70, the better. If your crazy error penny gets graded MS68 or MS69, you are cooking with gas. Speaking of cooking with gas, let me tell you a little story about my lunch one day a couple years ago. I had just gotten into collecting seriously, and I was all fired up about checking my change everywhere I went. Well, I was starving one afternoon and hit up my favorite Mexican place. Shout out to Mama Rosa's. If you know, you know. I pull up to the counter, order a massive burrito the size of my forearm, and reach into my pocket to pay. Without thinking, I pull out a bunch of coins I had been meaning to check, including a shiny new 2020 D penny. The cashier gives me a funny look and says, "Hey, that is a nice looking penny. You sure you want to use that one?" I shrug, laugh it off, and toss it into the tip jar, because I am a big spender like that. Later that night I am watching coin videos, and bam, there it is, a video talking about how rare 2020 D pennies with die cracks can be. I remember the penny from earlier and my stomach drops faster than my burrito did in my belly. I drive back to Mama Rosa's, but of course the tip jar is empty except for a few crusty nickels. I missed out on what could have been a small fortune, all because I was thinking with my stomach instead of my brain. Moral of the story: always check your coins before you spend them. No exceptions, even if your mouth is watering and you are about to pass out from hunger. Another thing to watch out for is double dies. This is when the design elements get duplicated during the minting process. Imagine Lincoln looking like he has had a couple too many. He is a little blurry around the edges. That is what collectors dream about, the doubling on A valuable 2020D penny will usually show up on In God We Trust Liberty or the date 2020 if you need a magnifying glass to see it. That is okay. These things can be super subtle, but when they are real and authenticated, oh boy, you are looking at some serious cash. Market wise, as of right now, top examples of these era 2020D pennies have sold for anywhere between $20,000 to over $1 million at auction, depending on the severity of the error and the coins. Grade N. You know what is crazy? The market is still heating up, it is not slowing down. In fact, because more people are waking up to how important condition and errors are, the competition for high-end examples is getting fiercer by the day. So if you have a jar full of change sitting in your closet, now is the time to go through it. Do not wait until next year when the guy down the street finds his $1 million penny and you are left kicking yourself. Second, check for any obvious weirdness, missing parts, odd shapes, cracks or blurry lettering. Third, if you spot something interesting, get that bad boy under a magnifying glass or a coin loop. Fourth, if it still looks good, consider sending it to a grading company. Yes, it costs a little money, but if you hit the jackpot, it is the best investment you will ever make. And finally, be patient. Coin hunting is a lot like fishing. You might go a few days or even weeks without finding anything, but when you do, man oh man, it is worth it. The 2020D Abraham Lincoln penny is proof that you do not need to dig for gold to strike it rich. Sometimes all it takes is a sharp eye, a little knowledge, and maybe a burrito break that does not end in tragedy like mine. Remember the key things to look for: major errors, mint state condition, doubling and shiny luster. And whatever you do, do not spend your coins before giving them a good look. Now, if you enjoyed hanging out today and you want to learn even more tips, tricks and strategies for finding coins worth serious money, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now, ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. We have got tons more coin stories coming your way, plus a few more embarrassing moments from yours truly, because hey, if you cannot laugh at yourself, you are missing out on half the fun. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, your fortune might just be hiding in your change jar. Keep hunting and keep smiling. Hey there, my fellow treasure hunters and couch archaeologists. Have you ever been digging through your spare change looking for a few quarters for the vending machine and thought to yourself, what if one of these old pennies was worth $1 million? Well, guess what? You might be sitting on a gold mine right in your piggy bank. Today we are diving headfirst into one of the most mind-blowing coin stories out there, the legendary 1987 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny that could be worth millions. Yes, millions with an M. Before you start flipping your couch cushions and raiding your kids' piggy banks, stick around, because I am about to tell you exactly what to look for, how this happened, and why the market has completely lost its mind over this coin. Alright, let's roll up our sleeves, grab that cup of coffee and get ready, because today could be the day you realize you are richer than you think. About a year ago, I was at a garage sale looking for some old baseball cards and maybe a used golf club. I definitely did not need. I spotted this old dusty jar full of coins for sale, marked $5, all of it. Now, being the sucker for old junk that I bought it without even thinking. When I got home, I dumped it out on my kitchen table, coins spilled everywhere like I hit the jackpot at a Vegas slot machine. My wife walked in, took one look and said, "Oh great, more clutter." As I was sifting through, I found an ordinary looking penny from 1987. At first I was like, man, another penny, but then I noticed something strange. There was no mint mark, not a D for Denver, not an S for San Francisco, not a zip. I thought maybe it was just worn off, but the coin looked too clean. The details were crisp, the date was sharp, it looked like something was missing, not worn down. So, like any normal person obsessed with coins, I grabbed a magnifying glass and then hit the internet hard, and boy was I glad I did. You see, the US Mint normally stamps a little letter on coins to show where they were made. For pennies it is usually a D for Denver or no mark at all for Philadelphia, but for a 1987 penny the expectation is super clear. There should be a strong mint mark or obvious wear, but when you find one that has literally no mark and looks pristine, you might have something special. In rare cases, mint errors happen. A blank planchet might skip a step, or a die might be misaligned. Combine that with good preservation and boom, you get a rare collectible. And because of how few perfect no mint mark 1987 pennies there are, collectors have gone absolutely bonkers over them. Prices have shot through the roof in the past few years. If you have a 1987 penny without a mint mark in flawless condition, we are talking about values starting around $500,000, and in some recent high-profile sales even topping $1 million. Yeah, you heard that right. One little brown coin sitting in the bottom of your glove compartment could be worth more than a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. Now, condition matters big time. If your Penny has been through the washing machine 5 times. It probably is not worth that much, but if it looks shiny fresh and shows all those beautiful little details, you could be holding a ticket to early retirement. First thing you need to do is find your old jars, drawers and sock piles. Wherever you stash your loose change, go through them carefully. Grab a cheap magnifying glass. If you need to look for the 1987 date, make sure it looks sharp, then check for the absence of a mint mark if it is missing. And the rest of the coin looks like it just came out of the mint. You could have something real special. A good tip is to weigh it too. A proper penny from that year should weigh about 25 grams. If it feels super light or heavy, it might be a fake. Always double check with a professional appraiser before you cash it in. You know what is crazy? Most people have seen these coins and just pass them off as regular boring pennies, because let's face it, pennies are like the annoying little brother of the coin world, always around, always easy to ignore, but it is exactly that boredom that hides treasures in plain sight. Sometimes the most valuable things are the ones we overlook day after day. Back to my story. Remember that coin jar from the garage sale? Well, not only did I find that mysterious 1987 penny, but I also found a 1943 steel penny and a Canadian penny from 1919. I showed them to my wife, all excited like a kid showing off a frog he caught, and she just shook her head and said, "Great, now we are collecting garbage from other people's basements." But hey, a few months later, when I sold the 1943 steel penny for a few $100, she changed her tune real fast. Now she is the one asking me if we can go hit up estate sales on Saturday mornings. The moral of the story is this: never underestimate the power of loose change. That crusty old penny in the bottom of your car cup holder could be worth more than your whole car. The 1987 no mint mark Lincoln penny is a reminder that treasure is often hiding in the places we least expect. If you take a little time, pay a little attention, and maybe get a little lucky, you could find a coin worth a fortune. So here is what I want you to do right after you finish watching this video. Go check your coin. Seriously, dump out that jar, dig through that change drawer, look in your couch. You never know. And hey, if you like this kind of content where we turn everyday junk into jackpot wins, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Smash it like you are trying to find that $1 million penny hiding in your spare change. I have got a lot more coin hunting tips coming your way. You do not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I will catch you next time. Happy hunting, and may your pockets always be full of hidden treasures. I bet you didn't expect to hear about a penny worth $1 million, did you? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into the wild world of the 1988 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard me right. A penny that could potentially make you a millionaire. Now, I know what you're thinking, a penny? Really? But this is no ordinary penny. In fact, it's one of those rare finds that'll have you doing a double take. You might even start checking the coins in your pocket with a little more excitement after this video. And trust me, if you're serious about coin collecting, you don't want to miss this. Stick with me through the next 50 minutes, and you might just find yourself with a new hobby, and maybe a new fortune. So grab your magnifying glass and let's get into it. I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll be a lot more careful with your pennies. Alright, first off, let's talk about what makes this 1988 penny so special. You're probably thinking, it's just a penny, right? What's the big deal? But this is where it gets interesting. Back in 1988, the US Mint produced a lot of pennies, as they do every year. However, the 1988 penny without a mint mark, yep, that's the one we're after, is something that collectors have started to get excited about in recent years. You see, most pennies have a mint mark on them, right? That little D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But in 1988, a small number of pennies were released without any mint mark at all. Now, I'm not saying every 1988 penny without a mint mark is worth $1 million. But if you find one in perfect condition, especially if it's uncirculated or has the right kind of error in its production, you're looking at a coin worth far more than the average penny. Well, there are a couple of factors. First, it's rare. You know what they say, rarity equals value. And when a coin is rare but still in circulation, it becomes a hot commodity for collectors. And because the 1988 no mint mark penny isn't something you'll find easily, its value has skyrocketed over time. The real kicker here is that some 1988 no mint mark pennies have been auctioned off for over $1 million. Yeah, $1 million. How insane is that for a coin that's practically been overlooked for decades? Alright, now let's talk about how you can actually identify this golden, well, copper, nugget in the wild. You're not going to just find it by chance in your spare change while grabbing a coffee, but it's possible. Look at the front of the penny, the side with Lincoln's face. Normally, you'll see a D or S there. If it's missing entirely, then you might have the coin we're after. Even if you find one without a mint mark, the condition of the coin matters. A well-worn penny? Not going to cut it. But if it's uncirculated, or near mint, that's where the magic happens. You're looking for a crisp, clear image of Lincoln and the lettering. If there's anything off about it, like a slight double strike or a misalignment in the design, those errors can make the penny worth even more. Okay, I've got a funny little story to share. A while back, I was sorting through some of my old change. I know, who does that? But you never know what you'll find, right? Anyway, I was going through some pennies when I stumbled upon a 1988 penny with no mint mark. I thought, that's strange. Maybe it's just an error coin. Probably worth a couple of bucks. Now, I wasn't expecting much, but I decided to give it a quick look online. Turns out, it had some noticeable wear and tear, but it still had some value, especially considering it was missing the mint mark. Long story short, I ended up selling it at an auction for a lot more than I expected, nothing close to $1 million, but enough to make me realize that this hobby could pay off in ways I never imagined. It was like a light bulb went off. It wasn't just about collecting for fun anymore. I was diving into a world where pennies could turn into pretty hefty paydays if you knew what to look for. And let me tell you, that feeling of finding a coin worth more than its face value? It's exhilarating. Well, here's where things get tricky. Since the 1988 no mint mark penny is so rare, you're not going to come across them every day. But here are a few tips for increasing your chances. It might sound a little basic, but people forget to check their pocket change. Keep an eye out every time you're paying for something in cash. Buy a few rolls of pennies from your local bank. If you're lucky, you might stumble upon an uncirculated 1988 penny without a mint mark. Online auctions and marketplaces. Some collectors sell these coins at online auctions, and you can sometimes find great deals or rare finds from reputable sellers. The 1988 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is definitely a rare find, and if you get your hands on one, it could be worth a pretty penny, pun intended. But it's not just about the money, it's about the thrill of the hunt and the satisfaction of finding something valuable in an unexpected place. If you're serious about coin collecting, it's time to get those eyes trained on your change and those rolls of pennies. Who knows, the next $1 million coin might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video for more tips on rare coins and collecting strategies. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on any of the gems we'll be uncovering in the future. Hey there, coin collectors and curious treasure hunters. I'm sure you've all heard the saying, a penny saved is a penny earned, but what if I told you that some pennies could actually make you a fortune? You might be wondering, how could something as tiny and seemingly insignificant as a penny be worth $1 million? Well, stick around because I'm about to drop some knowledge on a little-known coin that could change your view on pocket change forever. Today, we're talking about the 2014 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, a coin that's worth way more than just its face value. I know what you're thinking, wait, a penny from 2014? You've got to be kidding me. But trust me, this coin is one you might want to keep an eye out for. And by the end of this video, you'll be digging through your change, checking your drawers, and maybe even looking under the couch cushions for a rare find that could make you a millionaire. Alright, let's break it down. First things first, we're talking about a penny from 2014, stamped with the D mint mark, meaning it was produced in the Denver Mint. This is where things get interesting. Normally, you'd expect to find a penny like this worth exactly 1 cent, right? But here's where it gets wild, there are a handful of these pennies out there that are worth millions. Yep, you heard me right, millions. How did that happen? You see, in 2014, the US Mint issued a set of pennies that had a few production quirks. Some of these pennies were struck with incorrect dies, leading to minting errors that made them super valuable. There are different varieties of these error pennies, and some can fetch a price of over $1 million if they're in pristine condition. Imagine finding one of these in your change, just hanging out like any other penny. Now, let's talk about what makes these pennies so valuable. First, it's all about the error. You see, the 2014 D penny is particularly prized because of some rare misprints, where the design was imperfectly struck. Maybe the lettering got a little too blurry, or the image of Lincoln got a bit off-center. These mistakes are what coin collectors call die errors, and let me tell you, collectors go nuts for them. It's like a little treasure hunt every time someone finds one of these rare pennies. Most people don't even know what they're holding onto when they come across one of these special coins. Back when I first started collecting coins, I remember finding a penny in my change that looked a little funny. The edges were a bit worn, and Lincoln's face seemed off-center. I thought it was just some junk coin, tossed it into a jar, and forgot about it. A few years later, I saw a story about error pennies, and I had to facepalm. If I had done a little more digging back then, I could have been holding onto a coin worth thousands. But hey, it's all part of the learning process. Let's talk about the specifics here. The 2014 D penny can be worth anywhere from a few bucks to millions of dollars depending on the rarity of the error and the coin's condition. The more pristine, the better. So, if you're lucky enough to have a penny with a significant die error, and it's in good shape, don't be surprised if that little copper coin turns into a payday. Finding one of these valuable pennies isn't as easy as just looking for a random coin in your pocket. You've got to be really diligent. After all, these pennies aren't just floating around willy-nilly. You have to inspect every detail to spot the error. We're talking about checking the year, the mint mark, and, of course, looking for imperfections in the design. Some of these pennies have doubled letters or blurry numbers, which can really throw off the value. For example, if you spot a double die error, that's a surefire way to start calculating a hefty price tag. Some of these coins have sold for over $1 million at auctions, and they keep popping up. I've gotta say, though, the excitement of finding an error coin is something else. When I found my first one, it felt like I had just discovered a hidden treasure. I almost felt like a pirate, but instead of buried treasure, I was digging through pocket change. It's a rush. Now, how do you actually tell if you've got one of these $1 million pennies in your hands? Great question. There are a few key things you need to look for. The better the condition, the higher the value. A coin with visible scratches, dings, or discoloration is probably not going to bring in a huge payout. But if your 2014 D penny is in near mint or uncirculated condition, you're looking at something that could be worth much more. The most sought-after errors are double die errors or off-center strikes. These can make a huge difference in the value. If you've got one of these, you might just be sitting on a gold mine. Not every 2014 D penny is a rare error. But if you've got one of the rare types of die errors, you're definitely in luck. These are the ones that get the attention of collectors. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to keep an eye out for these types of details. I remember walking into a coin shop one day with a handful of pennies, just hoping to get a few bucks for them. The dealer took one look at the pile and pulled out a 2014 D penny I had never noticed before. It had a slight double die error on the date. I nearly fell over when he told me that penny could be worth thousands of dollars. Moral of the story: always pay attention to the little details, it could change your life. So, after all of this, I'm sure you're ready to get your hands on a 2014 D Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, you might be thinking, how do I find one of these? Honestly, it's all about keeping an eye out. You never know when you'll come across one in your change, and trust me, it's worth checking. Whether you're diving through your change jar, hitting up garage sales, or browsing through eBay listings, the hunt is part of the fun. Finding these rare error coins is not a guarantee. It takes time, effort, and a bit of luck. But if you stick with it, and keep your eyes peeled, you might just find a coin that turns your pocket change into a fortune. And remember, as you're building your coin collection, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I've got plenty more tips and strategies on finding coins that could be worth a ton of money, and you won't want to miss any of them. Trust me, you never know when your next $1 million penny could turn up, so go out there and start hunting. And if you find something great, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your stories about your rare coin finds. Until next time, happy hunting, and keep your change close, because you never know what might be hiding in it. ChatGPT CA. Alright, folks, I know you've all got pockets full of change that you toss around without a second thought, some nickels, dimes, and pennies probably buried in there somewhere. But here's the kicker: what if I told you that one of those pennies could be worth a cool $1 million? Yeah, you heard that right, $1 million. And no, this isn't some wild lottery ticket story. It's all about a specific penny that was made back in 2001, and it's got a secret that could make you a lot richer than you think. I bet you're sitting there thinking, this guy's gotta be pulling my leg. Stick around, because I'm about to break it down for you and show you exactly why the 2001 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is the one to keep your eyes on. Okay, let's set the stage here. You're probably familiar with the penny. It's the smallest, lightest, and, let's be honest, probably the most ignored coin in your collection. But here's where things get interesting. In 2001, something pretty rare happened with the pennies minted by the US Mint. A select group of pennies was struck without a mint mark. And it's these little mintless pennies that have people in the coin world absolutely freaking out. Well, normally, every coin made by the US Mint has a little mint mark on it to show which mint it came from. You've got your D for Denver, your P for Philadelphia, and so on. But the 2001 no mint mark penny? It's an anomaly. That little missing mint mark makes it a key rarity, and rarity, as you probably know, is the thing that drives prices in the coin world. We're talking about a penny that could go for up to $1 million. Now, don't just start rummaging through your coin jar thinking you've hit the jackpot. These pennies aren't everywhere, and there's a reason they're so valuable. You see, the US Mint didn't officially recognize this mistake until collectors started noticing that some 2001 pennies were lacking the mint mark. It was a serious error, and when word got out, collectors started hunting them down like treasure. This penny became a holy grail for serious coin collectors. Just because it's a 2001 penny without a mint mark doesn't automatically mean it's worth $1 million. The condition of the penny, also known as its grade, plays a huge role in how much it can sell for. If it's been bouncing around in your pocket for years, it's probably not going to fetch a high price. But, and this is where it gets interesting, if you happen to find one in pristine condition, we're talking about a valuable piece of history. So, if you've got a 2001 penny that's been well taken care of, especially if it's still shiny and new-looking, you could be holding on to something incredibly valuable. In fact, some of these pristine pennies have sold for upwards of $100,000 in auctions. And for the super rare, top-condition ones, yep, we're talking about that $1 million price tag. Now, let me tell you a quick personal story. I remember the first time I came across a rare coin. I was about 10 years old, and my grandfather gave me a small tin can full of old coins. I thought, great, a bunch of rusty pennies. But then, I started looking more closely and found a 1943 steel penny. I had no idea at the time, but my heart nearly jumped out of my chest when I learned that it was worth way more than a regular penny. The thing was, I had no clue what I was looking at back then. If I had, I would have kept it in a safe place instead of tossing it around like any other coin. I'll never forget the feeling of realizing that what seemed like just an old, worn-out coin could have made me a lot of money. Fast forward to today, and every time I see a penny, I do a double take, just in case I've got a secret treasure hiding in my change jar. Alright, let's dive into some real numbers here. As of right now, these 2001 no-mint mark pennies are still hot commodities. The market for rare coins is more alive than ever, and when it comes to valuable pennies, collectors are willing to pay big money for those mint markless gems. Some of these have been known to auction for hundreds of thousands, and on rare occasions, even $1 million. Now, what does this mean for you? If you've got a 2001 penny that's got that mint mark missing, take a closer look. You might just be sitting on a small fortune. You can't just walk into any coin shop and sell it for $1 million, though. You'll want to get it graded by a professional, someone who knows how to determine the condition and rarity of your coin. And here's a tip for all you future coin hunters: take care of your coins. That penny in your pocket right now might seem like nothing, but keeping it in good condition could mean the difference between a few bucks and a few million. So, there you have it, folks. The 2001 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny may be small, but it's got the potential to make you a lot of money. Who would have thought that this tiny coin could be so valuable, right? Now, if you've enjoyed this little journey into the world of rare pennies, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And hey, if you want more tips and insider info on coins that could be worth big money, you've got to stick around. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. After all, the next penny you find might just be your ticket to $1 million payday. What if I told you that somewhere in your pocket, buried under the change from your last fast food run, there could be a coin worth millions of dollars? Sounds like a dream, right? But let me tell you, it's very real. Today, we're talking about the 1991 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and how this seemingly ordinary coin could be sitting on a fortune. Stick around because I'm going to share exactly why this penny could be worth a lot more than you think, and trust me, you'll want to know the full scoop. Okay, let's start with the basics. When you hear 1991 penny, what comes to mind? Probably a shiny, copper-colored coin that's been floating around in your change jar for decades, right? That's what I thought too, until I discovered the insane market value of a rare 1991 penny with no mint mark. Most pennies are minted with a P or D to indicate where they came from, the Philadelphia Mint or the Denver Mint. But the 1991 penny, in this case, doesn't have any mint mark at all. Sounds pretty mundane, right? Wrong. This no mint mark 1991 penny is considered one of the rarest varieties in the coin collecting world. But, before you start digging through your coin jar, let's talk about how and why this coin holds such high value. First off, let's put this into perspective. The 1991 no mint mark penny is valued at millions in today's market. Yes, you heard that right, millions, and no, I'm not messing with you. It's so rare that certain versions have been sold for over $1 million. How's that for a return on investment? But why is this penny worth so much? Well, in the early 90s, there was a minting error at the Philadelphia Mint that caused a handful of 1991 pennies to be struck without the P mint mark. The rest of the pennies from that year were marked correctly, so these missing mint mark coins are incredibly rare. Coin collectors call them error coins, and as we all know, error coins are the holy grail in the numismatic world. Now, let's talk about how much you could potentially make off a 1991 no mint mark penny. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, right, how could a penny be worth that much? Well, here's the kicker. In some cases, these coins have been known to fetch anywhere from a few $1,000s to over $1 million at auction, depending on their condition and rarity. And if you think finding one of these pennies is a long shot, well, you're in for a treat. In fact, I've got a personal story that'll make you want to go out and start checking your pennies right now. A few years ago, I was just like you, kind of skeptical about the whole coin collecting thing. But after seeing some of these insane coin prices online, I figured, why not take a look at my own collection? So, one night, I started going through my old coins. After about an hour of disappointment, I finally found a 1991 penny, and guess what? It was a no mint mark penny. My heart skipped a beat. I thought, could this be it? Could this penny actually be worth something? I ran to my laptop, Googled it, and, sure enough, there it was, a 1991 penny, missing its mint mark, worth potentially thousands. To make a long story short, I didn't sell it for millions. I wasn't that lucky, but I was definitely more excited about it than I should have been. I mean, who wouldn't want to strike it rich with a simple coin from their pocket, right? So, now that we've established that the 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny is worth a small fortune, you might be wondering, how can I tell if I have one of these rare coins? Good question. Here's how you can easily check. Grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. No, you don't need to get fancy, just something that will help you clearly see the absence of the mint mark. Take a good look at the reverse side of the penny, right under the year 1991. If you don't see the P mint mark, congratulations, you might just have a jackpot on your hands. The condition of your coin is crucial. Coins in excellent condition, also known as uncirculated, will fetch a much higher price than those that are worn or damaged. So, if you happen to have a penny that looks like it's been through a few too many trips through the laundromat, don't get discouraged. It's still worth something, just not millions. But hey, a few $100 is still pretty nice for a penny, and don't forget, the coin's rarity is important too. The fewer of these no mint mark pennies there are, the more valuable they become. That's why this particular 1991 penny is such a big deal. It's not just an error coin, it's a rare error coin. So, while you're hunting through your spare change, keep an eye out for those mistakes. You could find something worth way more than $1. There you have it. The 1991 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, worth millions if you're lucky enough to find one in good condition. Who knew a simple coin could be hiding such big potential? And even if you don't find a goldmine in your coin jar, the world of rare coins is full of opportunities. This penny is just one example of how you could strike it rich without even realizing it, but before you go diving into your coin collection, remember, coin collecting isn't just about finding valuable pieces, it's about the hunt, the history, and the thrill of the search. And who knows, maybe next time you'll stumble upon something that'll make you a fortune. That if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more tips and tricks about coins worth money, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on more tips that could turn your spare change into a small fortune. And hey, maybe next time we'll be talking about your lucky find. Alright, listen up, I've got a mind-blowing coin tip for you today. If you've ever casually flipped through your pocket change, you might want to take another look at those pennies. I mean, sure, pennies are typically considered the small potatoes of the coin world. But hold on a second, what if I told you that one specific penny, a 1978 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, could be worth millions of dollars? That's right, millions. Sounds crazy, right? Well, stay tuned because we're about to dive into why this tiny coin could be the hidden treasure in your pocket, or maybe even in a dusty old jar of change you've had sitting around for years. Now, before you scroll off thinking this is just another one of those wild YouTube clickbait titles, stick with me. This story is a lot more than just some get-rich-quick fantasy. It's about understanding the value of coins, how you can spot rare ones, and maybe, just maybe, get your hands on a $1 million penny. So let's get into it. The 1978 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks just like any other penny you might come across. It's copper, it has the classic image of Abraham Lincoln, and it's got that worn-out, been through the ringer look that we all know and love. But the real value of this penny isn't in how it looks on the surface. Nope, it's about something you might not even notice at first, the lack of a mint mark. Now, most of the pennies we see have a mint mark on them, either a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But, in 1978, the US Mint produced a small batch of pennies without mint marks. And when you've got something that's rare and hard to find, it's no surprise that collectors go wild for it. These no mint mark pennies are incredibly rare, and that's what's driving their value through the roof. Now, you might be asking, okay, but why is it worth millions? Well, that's the big question, right? It's not just the rarity of the penny, there's a bit of a backstory here. You see, when the 1978 pennies were released, collectors didn't think much of them. They were just another batch of coins, thrown in with the rest. It wasn't until years later that eagle-eyed collectors started noticing that some of the pennies didn't have a mint mark. That little detail turned out to be a game changer. I'll tell you, I remember the first time I stumbled across one of these no mint mark pennies. I was going through a box of change my grandfather had left me when he passed away. It was a random assortment of old coins, some with cool designs, some a little worn down, and a whole bunch of pennies. To be honest, I wasn't expecting to find anything worth more than face value, until I came across this little 1978 penny. It looked like a regular penny to me, but something about it felt different. I wasn't even sure what to look for, but I had this gut feeling that I ended up getting it checked out by a local coin expert, and guess what? It was a no-mint mark penny. I had no idea at the time how valuable it could be, but after some research, I realized it was a collector's dream. That little penny, just sitting there in my collection, was worth a small fortune. The current market value for these rare coins is somewhere in the millions. And guess what? The value continues to rise. How much could a 1978 no-mint mark penny be worth today? Well, it depends on the condition of the penny. If your penny is in mint condition, it could easily fetch several $1,000,000 at auction. We're talking about a coin that was once thought to be just another forgotten piece of pocket change, now commanding attention from serious collectors worldwide. You might be wondering, how in the world do I know if my penny is one of these rare ones? Well, great question. It all comes down to checking for that mint mark, or the lack of it. A regular 1978 penny will either have a D or a P mint mark, but the rare ones, the ones that could make you a millionaire, don't have anything at all. It's that simple. Now, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of how to find these bad boys. A lot of people don't know this, but it's not just about looking through a pile of pennies. You've got to look with purpose. Start with old rolls of pennies from 1978 or even check change from your daily transactions. If you've got the patience and a sharp eye, you just might find one. Keep in mind, though, that the condition of the coin plays a huge role in its value. A penny in great condition, without a mint mark, can be worth way more than one that's all scratched up or heavily worn. Another thing to keep in mind, the market for rare coins is always changing. A penny that might be worth $1 million today could go up in value tomorrow, or it could dip depending on the market. But one thing's for sure, the rarity of the 1978 no-mint mark penny means that its value is likely to keep climbing, especially as more collectors get into the game. So, if you come across a 1978 penny that looks a little off, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. It could be worth way more than you think. Alright, let's wrap this up. You've heard the story, you know the value, and you've got the tools to spot a 1978 no-mint mark penny when you see one. But before I go, I want to leave you with a little piece of advice. Keep your eyes peeled, stay curious, and don't underestimate the value of the coins you have lying around. That small, seemingly insignificant penny in your pocket might just be your ticket to a small fortune. And if you found this video helpful and want to keep discovering rare coins that could be worth a lot of money, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got tons more tips coming your way, from strategies on how to find coins worth money to insider tricks that only the pros know. Don't miss out, hit subscribe and join the community. Hey, guys. So, picture this, you're digging around in a jar of change, just looking for some loose change to put in your wallet. Maybe you're tired of the jangling, or maybe you've just got an itch for finding something cool in that pile of pennies. But then, out of nowhere, something catches your eye. A penny, but not just any penny, a 2015 Abraham Lincoln penny with no mint mark. It's shiny, it's clean, and you swear it's different. So, what do? Toss it back into the pile? Or, hold on to it like it's worth millions? I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been in that exact position. And trust me, I almost tossed it back. But luckily, I didn't. And today, we're gonna talk about that very penny, the 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, and why it could be worth millions of dollars. Yep, you heard that right, millions. So stick around, because I'm about to tell you how this seemingly ordinary coin could change your life and boost your coin collection. Alright, let's dive in. You're probably thinking, a 2015 penny? Worth millions? Are you sure about that? Well, believe it or not, I'm not pulling your leg here. The 2015 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is the penny you want to keep your eyes peeled for. First off, let's talk about the mint mark, or the lack of it in this case. Most coins have a mint mark, a tiny little letter on them to show where they were made, usually a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But the 2015 penny that we're talking about here? It has no mint mark, and that's what makes it so special. You see, in 2015, the US Mint started releasing pennies from the Philadelphia Mint without mint marks. So, you could end up with a whole batch of pennies that look just like any other, except for this little quirk that might just make them worth a small fortune. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, but wait, isn't it just a penny? I mean, pennies are worth, well, a penny. You're absolutely right about that, but here's the thing, there's always been a market for rare and unusual coins, and the 2015 no mint mark penny has caught the attention of collectors and numismatists all over the country. So much so that these pennies have been spotted selling for millions of dollars at auctions. It's mind-blowing, right? Especially when you remember that it's just a small piece of copper. But as any seasoned collector will tell you, it's all about scarcity, rarity, and demand. Let's break it down a bit more. So, the value of the 2015 no mint mark penny is not something you'd typically expect to find in your average jar of spare change. In fact, you might think these rare pennies are a total fluke. But I'll tell you this, there's a growing number of collectors who want these things bad enough that they're paying big money for them. The current market value for a 2015 no mint mark penny in pristine condition can reach up to a few $1,000,000. I'm not joking here, guys, this coin is the real deal. Is this all some kind of joke? Well, it may sound crazy, but let me tell you a personal story that proves just how wild the world of coin collecting can be. A few years back, I was at a family gathering, just your average barbecue with the usual burgers and dogs, right? Well, one of my uncles, who's a hardcore coin collector, showed me a penny he found while digging around in his old change jar. I didn't think much of it, but he was practically jumping out of his skin about it. Turns out, he had found a 2015 no mint mark penny, and while it looked like a regular penny to me, it was anything but. The thing was in mint condition, shiny as could be, and he was convinced it was worth a fortune. He told me, if this turns out to be one of the rare ones, we're looking at millions. And while I chuckled, I had no idea that those words would come back to haunt me, because, later on, we found out it was worth a lot more than we initially thought. It didn't take long before my uncle was talking to professional appraisers, and sure enough, it was valued at a cool $1 million. I still can't get over it. Now, I'm not saying every 2015 no mint mark penny is going to be worth that kind of cash, but hey, it could be your lucky day. The thing about these pennies is that they're not just random. The ones that fetch the big bucks are the ones in absolutely perfect condition, no scratches, no discoloration, just flawless, shining examples of what the US Mint intended. So, if you've got a 2015 penny lying around, and it's in near perfect condition, you might want to hold on to it. There's a lot of fakes out there, so you want to make sure your coin is the real deal. If you find one of these coins in your change, it's worth getting it professionally appraised. And don't just go by what someone tells you on the internet. Trust me, there's a lot of bad info floating around out there. Keep your eyes peeled. That 2015 no mint mark penny you might have thought was just another piece of pocket change could actually be your ticket to a small fortune. If you've got one of these beauties in your collection, get it checked out by a professional, and who knows, you could be sitting on $1 million coin. But hey, even if you don't have one of these pennies lying around, don't sweat it. There are plenty of other rare and valuable coins to discover, and I'll be here giving you tips, tricks, and all the coin collecting wisdom you need to start building your collection and making some serious money. If you want more info on how to find rare coins, where to look for them, and how to make sure you're not leaving money on the table, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the tips and strategies I've got lined up for you. Alright, folks, that's all for today's video. I hope you've learned a little something about the 2015 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny and why it could be worth millions. Keep hunting, keep collecting, and maybe, just maybe, that next penny you find will be worth a lot more than you ever expected. We are diving deep into something that might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Yep, I am talking about the 1988 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, this tiny little coppery coin that most folks would toss in a tip jar without a second thought could actually be worth millions of dollars. No, I am not pulling your leg. Imagine finding a coin that looks like every other old penny and realizing it could pay off your mortgage, buy you a brand new truck, and still leave you enough to go on a vacation that even your neighbor Bob would be jealous of. Before we dive headfirst into the world of million-dollar pennies, let me tell you a quick story about the time I almost threw away a fortune without even knowing it. Trust me, you will want to stick around for this, because if it happened to me, it could happen to you too. It was about 5 years ago. I was cleaning out my junk drawer, you know, the one everyone has, full of random batteries, expired coupons, and mysterious keys that open absolutely nothing. While digging through the mess, I came across a handful of old coins. I figured, hey, maybe there is something good in here. I mean, worst case scenario, I am 50 cents richer, right? Well, I started flipping through them and noticed a super worn out 1988 penny no mint mark on it. I shrugged, tossed it aside, and went on with my day. Later that night, while watching TV, I stumbled on a show about rare coins, and guess what they started talking about? You guessed it, 1988 no mint mark Lincoln pennies worth a small fortune. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. I ran back to the junk drawer like a man on a mission, only to realize my wife had tidied up and the junk drawer had become a junk trash can. That penny was long gone. To this day, I am convinced I threw away $1 million. Moral of the story: never underestimate the power of a dusty old penny. First off, the big deal with this coin is a rare error known as the double die reverse on these special pennies. If you look closely at the back, especially at the words United States of America or 1 cent, you will notice a doubling effect, almost like the letters are shadowed. It is pretty subtle, so you need a magnifying glass or the eyes of a hawk to spot it, but once you do, cha-ching, this doubling happened because of a mistake at the US Mint during production. Instead of a crisp single impression, the die used to stamp the coin shifted just enough to create that doubled image, and because errors like this are so rare, collectors go absolutely nuts for them. Most are just your run-of-the-mill pennies, which means finding a real double die reverse is like finding a golden ticket in your candy barrelly. Instead of meeting Willy Wonka, you are meeting your financial advisor to discuss where to invest your new fortune. Well, high-grade examples, meaning pennies that are in nearly perfect condition, can sell for over $1 million at auction. Even beat-up circulated ones can fetch tens of thousands if the doubling is clear enough. Not a bad return on investment for something that cost 1 cent back in the day, right? And the market right now in 2025 is hotter than a summer barbecue grill. Collectors are scrambling to add rare error coins to their collections, and the 1988 no mint mark penny is one of the biggest prizes out there. Thanks to online marketplaces, live auctions, and coin shows, it has never been easier to sell a rare coin for top dollar. Step 1: grab all your 1988 pennies. Step 2: grab a magnifying glass or one of those cheap jeweler loupes from Amazon. Step 3: check the reverse side. Look closely at the words United States of America and 1 cent. If the letters look like they are doubled or have shadows behind them, congratulations, you might just be holding a fortune. Step 4: if you think you have one, do not clean it, do not polish it, do not try to make it look pretty. Collectors want them exactly as they are, dirt and all. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer or grading service like PCGS or NGC to have it professionally authenticated. Now, a lot of people ask, what if my penny looks kind of doubled but not really? Well, there are minor cases of machine doubling, which is just a boring little mechanical hiccup, and sadly those pennies are not worth much more than face value. What you want is true hub doubling, where the details are fully doubled and pop out clearly. It might take a little practice, but once you spot the real thing, you will never forget what it looks like. It is like seeing a UFO. Once you have seen one, everything else looks suspicious. Now, if you are thinking, man, I probably spent 100 of those pennies over the years, you are not alone. I kick myself daily over the coins I spent on coffee, gas, and those little claw machines that never actually grabbed the toy. The important thing is now you know knowledge is power, and in this case, knowledge could literally make you a millionaire. Plus, think about it, you will have the coolest story to tell at parties. Oh hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, you know, just casually found a $1 million penny, no big deal. So to wrap it up, folks, the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln penny might look like just another coin, but hidden among those ordinary pennies is a rare gem that could change your life. All it takes is a little patience, a good eye, and the willingness to dig through some pocket lint before you head off to start rummaging through your couch cushions and car cup holders. Do me a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and ring the notification bell so you do not miss any of my future videos. I have got tons more tips, tricks, and crazy coin stories coming your way. Who knows, the next video might help you find a coin worth even more. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Good luck hunting, and I will see you next time. Happy collecting. We turn pocket change into gold mines. If you have ever thought a penny was just a penny, well, today you might want to sit down, grab your favorite drink, because what I am about to tell you will blow your mind. Imagine this: you are digging through the couch cushions hunting for the remote when you pull out a dirty little penny. You roll your eyes, maybe even chuck it on the table without a second thought. But what if I told you that little piece of copper could be worth over $1 million? That is right, folks. Today we are talking about the 2021 Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny and how some of these coins have skyrocketed into the stratosphere of coin collecting. Let me tell you a quick story real quick before we dive deep into these $1 million pennies. I gotta share something that happened to me not too long ago. So one lazy Saturday, I am at a garage sale. You know how it is, half looking for treasure, half looking for snacks. Anyway, I see this old jar of coins tucked under a wobbly table. $5 for the whole jar, the lady says. I figure, why not? I love a good mystery. Fast forward to me sitting at home pouring them out, and what do I find? A 2021 penny staring up at me looking all innocent. Well, joke's on me, because at the time I thought nothing of it and used it to pay for a Slurpee at the gas station. First things first, what makes the 2021 Mint Mark Lincoln penny so special? It is all about errors, baby. You see, every now and then the US Mint slips up, they make a mistake on a coin, and collectors go absolutely bananas over it. We are talking double dies, off centers, die cracks, you name it. And when it happens on a new coin like the 2021 people go wild. That is a fancy way of saying the design looks like it was printed twice but slightly off. If you look closely at Lincoln's eye or his bow tie and you see some doubling, you might just have yourself a jackpot. Sounds like something you find on a farm, but nope, these are little cracks or blobs of metal that show up when the minting die starts breaking down. If you see a big old lump where there should not be one, congratulations, that is a good sign. If Lincoln's face looks like he is trying to escape off the side of the penny, you might have something valuable. Generally, the more off-center without losing the full date and mint mark, the better. Right now, as of today, some of these rare era 2021 pennies have sold for crazy money. We are talking anywhere from a few $100 for minor errors all the way up to $1 million. For the big juicy mistakes, $1 million for a penny you found in your sock drawer. That is the American dream right there. You might be wondering, why on earth would someone pay that kind of money for a penny? Well, it all comes down to rarity, condition, and the collector market. Rarity is obvious. If only a handful of these error pennies exist, people will fight harder than two kids over the last slice of pizza to get one. Condition matters too. A penny straight from a mint roll, untouched by grubby hands, can fetch a much higher price than one that looks like it lost a fight with a garbage disposal. And of course, the collector market is always hungry, especially for new modern errors. Collectors want the next big thing, and when a hot error coin gets discovered, it is like throwing meat into a Shark Tank. Quick tip: if you think you have a special 2021 penny, do not clean it, do not polish it, just pop it into a little plastic coin holder and take it to a professional grader. Cleaning a coin can actually destroy its value faster than me destroying a plate of nachos during the Super Bowl. Also, it might be worth your while to grab some mint rolls from your local bank. I am serious. Walk in, ask for a few rolls of pennies, and get to searching. You might feel a little silly at first sitting at your kitchen table surrounded by pennies, but when you find that big money coin, you will be laughing all the way to the bank. Joe is one of those guys who can find a four-leaf clover on a patch of concrete. He decides to jump on the 2021 penny hunt, but being Joe, he goes overboard. He hits every bank in a 30-mile radius picking up penny rolls like he is stockpiling for the apocalypse. 3 weeks later, he calls me up screaming like he just won the lottery. Turns out he found a beautiful 2021 penny with a massive die crack across Lincoln's forehead. Looked like Lincoln got into a bar fight and lost. He sent it off to be graded, and guess what? It came back as a mint error of major significance. That penny sold at auction for just over $800,000. Now, not every 2021 penny is going to make you rich. Most of them are worth exactly 1 cent, but the point is, you will never know unless you look. And even if you do not find $1 million penny, searching through coins is relaxing, educational, and who knows, you might find other rare coins along the way, like a 1992 close AM penny or a 1969 double die. That is what makes this hobby so much fun. It is like treasure hunting, but you do not need a shovel or a metal detector, just a sharp eye and a little patience. Another hot tip: join some online coin communities, post pictures of your finds, get second opinions. You would be amazed at how helpful and friendly most coin collectors are. It is a tight-knit group full of folks who love sharing knowledge and stories. Plus, it is nice to show off when you finally find that golden ticket penny. If you have a 2021 Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, look for doubling, cracks, off-center strikes, and weird Lumps or blobs. If you find something funky, get it checked out by a professional. It might just be your ticket to a new car, a vacation home, or heck, even early retirement. And remember, patience is key. You might go through hundreds of pennies before you find something, but every coin you check is another chance to hit it big. Well folks, there you have it, the 2021 D penny, the little coin that could make you a millionaire. Next time you find a penny on the ground, do not be that guy who walks past it thinking it is worthless. Pick it up, take a good hard look. You just might be holding onto a piece of treasure, and all it cost you was a little time and maybe a sore back from bending over. If you enjoyed this video and you want more tips on coins worth money, how to spot rare treasures, and strategies to build your collection into a fortune, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, smash that like, and share this with your friends. We are just getting started here, and I have got a whole vault of secrets to share with you. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and remember, in the world of coins, even a penny can change your life.